Hey, what's going on, guys? Andrew here, aka DFS Warstrike. I'm joined by my friend Cody, aka D Prodigy, and we're here to break down the Tuesday showdown game between the Buffalo Bills and Tennessee Titans. Cody, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Just looking at this interesting slate with a bunch of COVID players that we're gonna have to dig through.
Yeah, definitely this COVID thing's been strange, and digging through here, I think we found quite a bit of good value here with the COVID list. So I'm excited to get this going. So with that being said, Cody, I'm gonna have you start at the top region with your favorite place.
All right, so at the top, you obviously had the four studs with Allen, Henry, Diggs, and Tannehill. So if I had to rank them from first glance, it would be Allen and Diggs combo, and then the Henry and Tannehill combo. So Allen at the top is expensive at 19,500 in the captain slot, but I think his price is worthy of his recent play. He can beat you on the ground. He can beat you basically anywhere on the field. He's stepped up this season overall completely, and I'm liking him in the captain slot if you get to him there. But I wouldn't blame you if you got to Stephon Diggs, who is the go-to guy from Josh Allen. He's been peppered with targets. He's the new man in Buffalo, and I'm all over Stephon Diggs. What are your thoughts?
I'm the same exact boat. I love the Diggs Allen combo. That's probably where I'm just gonna be at for majority of tomorrow's lineups. Um, Henry, I'm not on that much because Buffalo's been good against the run, and I see Tennessee trailing a lot in this game, so I see a lot of throwing that's going to have to be done. I will have a couple GPP lines with Henry. I'm just not a big fan of him tomorrow. I just don't have much faith in this Tennessee offense with two key players that are going to be missing.
Exactly. Like I can see if Henry does pay up for that, like hits that price, he'll have to get over 20
Hmm.
carries, which I don't think he'll get over 20 carries if they're falling behind. I think they're
Yeah,
going to throw in the rookie with Evans and let him see some work. But the
yeah,
price tag is high. It's 11,000 in the flex option. If you get to him, you get to him. I don't blame you if you do. I don't. I wouldn't say you're wrong completely if you get to him. But at the same time, he's not my favorite play based on that price when you can go easily cheaper with Diggs for 10,600.
yeah,
So we typically always say in cash play two quarterbacks. That's what we typically do. But on this case, I'm not a fan of it. Once again, I haven't been a fan of it lately. And Tannehill is just like you said earlier, is conservative. He basically is just going to get you the check down passes. He's going to throw you the basically just passes in the backfield. I'm not on Tannehill that much at all. I'd rather spin up
yeah.
against the Josh Allen. So Tannehill's not a guy
Yeah,
I'm looking at.
he just doesn't put up good fantasy numbers, so it's not somewhere for me to go. But I mean, if you play multiple lines, I recommend making a line with the Tannehill Henry stack. If you're just doing one, then I just recommend just going Diggs and Allen. But
Exactly.
we looking at AJ Brown.
Yeah, so AJ
Yeah,
Brown's knees in question. So that's going to be a key component of what we look at because he's 8,800. So he's going to be the go to guy for Ryan Tannehill if he does play. We know that
right.
Humphreys and Corey Davis has COVID-19, I think, and
And that's a lot of targets that are going to be missing
exactly. So
a
AJ
lot.
Brown's going to have to finally step up and prove what his
Mhm.
worth basically in this game if he does play. Does he play? It's a question. So we're going to keep that status, which is going to be up in the air for him. Going
Mhm.
down to Singletary. What are your thoughts on Devin Singletary?
Um, I I'm all on Singletary if Zach Moss is out. I don't see Zach Moss being out, so if Zach Moss is playing, I'm not really a big fan of it because then I just see a split going on there. At that point, if Moss is playing, I'm not against him. I would like to play a Buffalo running back, considering that Tennessee has given up a touchdown to every running back that they've played against this season so far. Running backs have seemed to have success against Tennessee, so I wouldn't mind playing Moss because I think he sits down at 2,600. But Singletary, I'm all over if Moss sits out.
600.
But yeah, if Moss doesn't sit, then I'm not gonna play Singletary. I'd rather drop down to Smith because Smith is probably my favorite play on the slate, just overall because Buffalo struggles against tight ends, and other than AJ Brown being the number one guy, I think Smith is probably going to be like out seeing a lot of targets tomorrow with the two out. I think Tannehill, especially with how conservative he is, I think Smith's going to be the go-to guy at least for the reception part of it. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at between those two guys. What about you, Cody?
Most definitely, I like Johnny Smith a lot. I think that he's going to be another go-to guy for Tannehill, potentially in the end zone. And I like
Mhm.
Johnny Smith a lot. I think he can hit your value easily at 7,200. And with value being on this slate, I see why we can get to him. Singletary, like you were saying, it's always if Moss is in, don't play Singletary. If Moss is out, lock and load him. It's easy as that. There's basically no way around it. It's one of the two. So, skipping over Corey Davis because of COVID-19, we have Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley's basically just been a guy that Josh Allen looks to for easy passes, and it racks up fantasy points for Cole Beasley. He may not be the shiniest guy on the field. He may not be the best guy on the field, but he'll get you fantasy points. I like him as a
He
middle
gets
tier.
the receptions.
I like him as a middle tier play. I think you can get to him,
Yeah,
and I like him a lot. Basically, what are your
yeah.
thoughts?
He Uh, same reason, same thing. I like Cole Beasley for the reception part of it. He's his go-to guy on third down and when he needs a catch or a play just to get a reception and a couple yards. Beasley's the guy. I don't think he'll kill it with the receiving yard game, but I definitely think the reception part will help you, considering that it's a point per reception. But dropping down a little bit, kind of where you're at, Raymond for Tennessee. With all these guys out for COVID, I'm on Raymond. I like Raymond a lot. I think he steps in as the number two receiver for this week. So I'm probably going to be all over him with only being 4,800 and with the limited options that we have for Tennessee and with me expecting them to trail. I can see a lot of passes being going at least like over 30 or something for Tannehill. So I like to see Raymond get involved in this offense.
Exactly, exactly. So I can see you getting to Raymond a lot, and 4,800 is not bad to me whatsoever. Um,
Hmm.
John Brown is questionable, so that will open up value also if he does not play. Um,
Yeah.
it's the knee injury which we see typically this season, and with the knees and the hamstrings are basically messing up a bunch of players. So that's going to be a key news to watch. Also, if John Brown is out, you can look to a guy down here at Isaiah McKenzie who would have to step up for only $800. I wouldn't mind McKenzie whatsoever if John Brown is out. So we
Yeah.
also have Adam Humphries who has COVID-19. So skipping over him, we had the Bills defense. So I'm not on any either defenses whatsoever this game. I could see you get to the Bills defense given the receivers are out for Tannehill, but again, we also have Derrick Henry, which the Bills defense is good against the run, but it is Derrick Henry. So that's just I like other value basically, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on defenses?
Yeah, I'm not on defense. Mainly big reason is because the only team I see that's probably not going to score as much is probably going to be Tennessee with the limited offensive ability that they have. But um, Tannehill doesn't turn the ball over, so like that's not really a thing that's like gonna get you fantasy points. I don't really see fantasy points coming from there unless they're gonna get sacks. But I just don't. I'm just not a fan of it because I don't see interceptions happening. I think Tannehill only has one pick on the season, so I just they're conservative. They don't turn the ball over. I'm not for it this year for this week at least.
Yeah, he only has one pick for the season.
Yeah, it's just not enough. Like you're just not gonna get turnovers. You're not gonna get those points. So it's just not. Just stay away from it for me this week.
Exactly. I'm not on Gabriel Davis for Buffalo. He's just a basically uh, I'm not on him. I mean, I can see you get
Yeah,
to him if John Brown is out. I wouldn't
if
mind
John
him.
Brown's out.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
him, but I slightly like McKenzie more for the
I'd
value.
rather. Yeah,
So I
I'm
wouldn't
on the boat with you. I'd rather pay for McKenzie.
exactly. So I'd rather get to Davis. I mean, not Davis, my bad. I'd rather get to McKenzie, but I wouldn't blame you if you got to Davis just as a flyer and then punt.
Yeah.
Kickers. Um, Kickers are always just a go-to option if you need salary relief. I typically don't try to get to kickers, but if you do get to them, I don't blame them. It's basically just a give or take sort of situation with kickers now and on this slate. But going down to Dawson Knox, he's just a guy. Basically, it's going to be a flyer. If you get to him again, I wouldn't blame you, but it's the yards that I don't like with him. He doesn't get you the yards that you need. Doesn't get you the receptions, but he is touchdown dependent, so he could get you a TD every now and then. What are your thoughts on the tight end?
See, I feel I'm not on Knox at all. I'd rather, if I had to drop down this low, um, besides Zach Moss, I would rather have Tyler Croft because he is touchdown dependent, but I think Tyler Croft sees more red zone targets. So I would rather jump down to him over Knox, but I'm not really gonna play either. I think that's a huge punt. If you're willing to take that risk, go for it. But I'm not willing to do that when I can get Zach Moss or even if McKenzie is down there or even down farther, which is my favorite value play of the slate, which is Firkser for Tennessee.
Exactly. So I'm not on the Titans defense whatsoever. I don't trust it
No.
whatsoever. There's no way I'm going to the Titans defense. There's no way anybody should go to the Titans defense. Josh
No.
Allen is basically a guy who, again, can run it all over you and pass it
He'll
all over
throw
the
it all
field. He's
over you now.
Yeah, he's on fire. He's just a basically a new guy for this season. I'm not on the Titans defense. I'm crossing them off as basically a full on fade. Now Zach
Mm-hmm.
Moss, we were talking about him earlier. Zach Moss is a guy that has stepped up as a rookie when he gets his shot. He splits carries with Devin Singletary whenever he is in play. I wouldn't mind getting him as a value if he does play, which I think he will in this game. So I wouldn't mind
Yeah, he's
getting to him.
expected to.
Yeah, I don't mind
Yeah,
getting to him
he's
whatsoever.
definitely he's a good play at 2,600, and like with Tennessee giving up touchdowns every week to running backs, like if he gets into the end zone, like that's a good value play for $2,600.
And week one, like looking at the logs, we see him as a pass
Mm-hmm.
catching option. So he could
Yep.
easily catch you a few passes in the backfield. So
Yep.
going down to Tyler Croft, you talk about Tyler Croft. So going down to Evans, there's no reason why Evans would play unless Derrick Henry somehow gets injured. I don't see Evans really getting a lot of snaps. I'm off of him. McKenzie's a flyer that I wouldn't mind as a punt if John Brown is out. Again, if John Brown is out. Other than that, I'm not
Yeah.
getting to McKenzie whatsoever. Yeldon, afterthought, obviously. Lee Smith is an afterthought. Talk about your guy down here as a value.
Yeah, man. I really like Firkser here with so Firkser he becomes dependable when receivers are out. He is a receiving tight end. Um when AJ Brown was out, he had 4 catches for 45 yards. He becomes kind of, I wouldn't say a main target, but he becomes a key target for the offense. As a receiving tight end, I know a lot of people are looking at the receiver depth chart for what we're going to have this week, but I really think Ferguson's just going to step in as the number three. And I think he can really provide upside at $200 and really get you some good fantasy points. If he can just repeat with the 4 catches for 45 yards, I'm really happy with somebody just getting 8 fantasy points at $200. So I'm really on Ferguson for tomorrow because I really think that he can provide a lot of value, and I think he's going to go low owned with how much he's kind of just going unrecognized. I don't really see him and Smith being a bad combo together because I don't really see Ferkser lining up as a tight end. I see him going as a receiver. And I really think just going into the Tuesday slate, I think he can really provide some upside. Other than that, I'm going to let you talk about Westbrook down there at 200 as well.
All right, so you have Westbrook down here, who I think is going to step up. He's got promoted to the roster. He's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
The rookie is all in for this game. I think that he saw 2 targets last game, so obviously Tannehill's going to look for him. I think he can step up, and I think he's ready to go for this game. And I wouldn't blame you for taking a shot at him for only 200. You cannot go
Yeah,
wrong with these guys at 200 at all. I mean, it's
no, that
obviously
like I
you
said,
can't.
like just if you get 8 fantasy points, 4 catches for 45 yards from either one of them, I mean that's just there's nothing more you can really ask for at that point.
Exactly. So it's a simple slate where there's going to be a guy who goes off, and it's going to be a guy for only $200, and you're just got to pick that right guy, and it's either going to be your guy or it's going to be Westbrook. I mean, you cannot go wrong with either one, plugging and playing them for only $200. It's basically why not? So, do you have any closing thoughts for this slate before we wrap it up?
Um, just make sure when you're building lines that your lines correlate together. I know that's something that seemed a little hard as you and I were trying to build. Just make sure that you're correlating with what you're building. Don't kind of just throw in. If you're gonna put Diggs at captain, you gotta have Josh Allen, vice versa. If you're gonna have Tannehill, try to get Henry with them. Just make sure everything that you're doing is correlating together and that it all becomes one piece of the puzzle. But other than that, I'm good. What are your closing thoughts?
I would not go over less, or I would not go less than Westbrook at $200.
Oh no,
Some of
no.
these guys are just not guys that you need to go to.
Hmm.
A key thing for me on this slate is don't be afraid of leaving a ton of salary on the table, and don't be afraid of taking shots on low on guys at the bottom, because people are going to try to plug in and play guys that are just not going to make sense and try to zero out their salary when this is not a game to zero out your salary with at all. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
I get
this is a game where that do not be afraid of leaving about $1,000 on the table or $2,000 on the table. Don't be afraid of playing two guys at the bottom that could go off. So if you want to go big in the GPP, that's how you're going to need to go big, is leaving salary on the table, taking shots on these guys at the bottom that are going to be in play because of COVID-19. So that's basically my wrapping up my thoughts on this slate overall, guys. I hope everybody has a good night, and this video will be out tomorrow for the viewers to see after I do some editing. Any last thoughts for you?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys kill the slate. Let us know how you do.
All right, guys, have a good one.